It's not like one particular vendor when I grew up in Ejigbo, but that Kamo.
Such a disrespectful name.
That's how Boda Kamo used to
Sorry to all the Kamo out here.
He remind me of Boda Kamo a lot.
Is Marcus Rashford a flop? I mean, given the way his career at Manchester United eventually panned out and his loan move to Aston Villa, some might say he is a flop. So that's why we are here on Crossfire, brought to you by Life Covet. I am Jimmy Anishilewo, and today and Tosin are here we need to discuss whether Marcus Rashford can be considered a flop. So Tosin, do you consider Marcus Rashford a flop?
I do not consider Marcus Rashford to be a flop.
Okay.
Because I feel, based on my own evaluation, there were heightened expectations for Marcus Rashford based on an ability he did not have. That's my own evaluation of the situation. Marcus Rashford is an accident. Marcus Rashford is a mistake. He was an experiment. How did he get into the first team? Was it not like there was shortage of strikers and let's bring in a player from the youth team was that not what Van Gaal did? Am I lying? Is that not how he got promoted to the first team? They could have easily picked Shola Shoretire. They could have picked anybody. You don't know. Nobody knows now. They elevated it's like okay. You may remember his name. There's a guy called Ryan Brewster. there was a time Liverpool had Mane was injured, Firmino was injured in the first team, and they brought in Ryan Brewster. Have you heard of Ryan Brewster? Like people, they call up players from the first team every other time. It happens. Some of them turn out to be fixed mainstays in the first team, but like if you are not registered as a first team player before the start of the season and you make your debut there, that means it's an experiment. It's a matter of urgency. You are not part of the first team. We have multiple injuries in this position. Please come and help us.
So Barcelona's business model.
So he got into the Manchester United fold as a mistake. Now, I do not know his family history. I do not know what he does. But the elements aligned for him. Marcus Rashford went on a scoring streak. On a scoring streak as a 17-year-old. Like, do you imagine that?
Yes, I can. We have one currently.
Like,
Lamine Yamal.
Lamine Yamal didn't go on a scoring streak. Lamine Yamal has had performances upon performances upon great performances. But it just felt like everything. There are two different things. Please, let me, because I think I need to explain to you.
Sorry now.
Because your I think the light in your brain is so dim. I need to spark it with the matches. So let me.
The matches spark your whole light.
Let's make it light. It was back with it matches.
Let me explain it like this. I remember Marcus Rashford playing an international friendly game, actually. I think, if I recall very correctly. He didn't do anything in the game. They played one long ball for him and his toe touched it and he entered the net. If I didn't know anything better, we've talked about the effects of juju in football on this show, right? If I didn't know any better and he's not over the pond, we know what the label we call this kind of things, right? So his breakthrough to the first team, nothing warranted the expectation of stardom. But that responsibility was placed on his shoulder. And even Manchester United never, ever showed full confidence in him. Even during that his breakthrough season and everything, they still acquired Anthony Martial, right? And after that Anthony Martial experiment, when Jose Mourinho came, they still said, how about we bring in Zlatan Ibrahimovic? Like, they still never saw, like, because they know they have talent evaluators that, like, he's not showing anything that stands out above anybody else. He's a professional footballer. He has certain qualities, but he also has certain deficiencies. I've never seen Marcus Rashford as a clinical striker.
Wait, are you sure you are defending this guy?
That's why I'm saying I'm telling you that he's not a flop.
Because
I personally, Oluwatosin Abayomi, I never saw Marcus Rashford destined for greatness. I never saw him having the quality to change and revolutionize Manchester United. So why would I say he's a flop? He's exactly what I wanted him to be and I expected him to be. He's exactly what I expected him to be. That's the simple truth. Like, I expected him to have some highs, have some lows. Duke it out. So when I put it in that context, I'm not a talent evaluator that will now say, like I said, there are people who literally looked you in. I remember Manchester United went to play PSG one time, and I think Marcus Rashford scored the winning penalty. And in Paris, people literally came out and said he's on par with. I'm like, this is mental illness. This is mental. That's the truth. Like, you literally look at Marcus Rashford because he scored a penalty in Paris, with Lukaku doing a lot of hard work in that game, and you expect him to, like, you look at someone like Kylian Mbappe as a generational player. A generational player. You don't look at someone like Marcus Rashford as a generational player. My expectations for him are what he is. He's a decent player who found himself lucky to be at a club at Manchester United. And he did what he expected to do. He exhausted the pinnacle of his abilities. He scored 30 goals in a season like 2 seasons ago. That was the height of his career now. He can't do more than that now. You are the one that is expecting more from him. That's just the simple truth. So he's not a flop.
Don't worry. Don't stress yourself. See, my first message is to parents out there. Those of you that used to, your children will show small promise. SS1, you run and carry them to do GC and special center and run it, so they will miss SS2 and 3. This is what they used to teach in SS2 and 3, so that they will not stop be arguing like a confused person. Is Marcus Rashford a flop? You said no. And then you spent 5 to 10 minutes telling us why he is the floppiest flops of all flops. Let me just get what you are talking about here, Tosin. So you don't consider Marcus Rashford a flop because you never expected him to amount to anything. Yeah. Which just makes me know that you do not watch football. I've always said that's my biggest criticism of Tosin. Tosin talks like he gets his information specifically from newspaper arguments.
Make your point.
No, I will
make your point.
You regurgitate a lot of.
Let's hear this.
Let's hear this. In fact, you sound like one particular.
Let's hear this to.
Let's
put it on the table. Let's see.
You sound like one particular vendor when I grew up in Ejigbo, but that Kamo.
Such a newspaper name.
That's how Boda Kamo used to.
Sorry to all the Kamo.
He reminds me of Boda Kamo a lot. Look, Tosin, Marcus Rashford blazed into the scene as a 16-year-old. I remember his debut game. Yes, you were right. It's injuries that led to him playing. But injuries or not, the whole point of academy, and Rashford was the captain of Manchester United's youth team, was the leading scorer for the United youth team. He was always going to get a chance with the first team. It was fast-tracked because they needed personnel, I agreed. But he came in the Europa League, scored on debut, scored and assisted. And because he did well in the Europa League, I've forgotten what team they played, but it was not a great team. But because he did well in the Europa League, his Premier League debut was against who? Arsenal! At Old Trafford, a 16-year-old debuted at Old Trafford against Arsenal. And what did he do? He scored 2 goals in a 3-1 win. And Tosin will not come and put his mouth and tell me that there should not be no expectation for that kind of youngster. Because of what? There are clearly expectations because he showed that he's quite talented. That is the whole point of Marcus Rashford. He's very talented. Where he becomes a flop, for me and everybody else that believes that it's a flop, is that his talent is not sustainable. His talent is not consistent. That's the thing. We've seen what Marcus Rashford can do. He showed it in the 30-goal season that he can be a clinical. In fact, you said, I don't agree that Rashford is as good as Mbappe. I never agree with people that are saying that. But at the peak of his powers, Rashford was like Mbappe light. Rashford was like Mbappe from Temu. It was like Mbappe for the poor. It was Mbappe with childless 25%. But that, like, you could see that, okay, this guy is clearly fast. He's not the most skillful. But he can get by players. You are not thinking of Rashford will dribble the whole pitch. But if he has to dribble, he can beat players. Whether by running past them or even just by simply dribbling. And he can score fairly consistently too. Doesn't mean that he will get 5 big chances and score 5 in a game. But Rashford is capable of scoring 2-3 goals per game if he gets enough chances. So you can't say that kind of player did not have talent, or people should not have expectations, or someone that was showing that at 17, 18. The biggest issue with Rashford was, first of all, determining his position. Because at youth level, he played as a central striker. He was the number 9. He was the captain. Breaking into the team, he started that game against Arsenal as the number 9 as well, scoring 2 goals. The following season was the Mourinho season. That was when he was first moved to the left to accommodate Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So, and there was a lot of talk in the English media, would that affect his abilities, would that affect his form, would that affect. But at the end of the day, it showed that he's actually a very competent left winger. And when they now eventually moved him back to the center, some people were saying they've been playing out of position and the left is his real position. Meanwhile, Rashford is a player that is capable of playing across the front three. That's a clearly talented player. So it becomes a flop when you do not meet those expectations. And that's simply what has happened here. I don't think anybody that criticizes Rashford hates him, except for maybe Ruben Amorim. Clearly, Ruben Amorim will come out and tell you that Rashford cannot play for Man United because he did not meet the minimum training requirements. Training requirements where Onana they meet. Training requirements, you have 13 points in 13 games. I'm breaking 1 point per game. So the people when they play, they train well. They are not winning games. So like clearly, no, I like Rashford. But can I also say he's a flop? Yes, he's a flop. And you can see the way my argument is actually well arranged and makes sense. It's because I did YKSS3 as I was supposed to. And they did not pay anybody to do it for me. I did it by myself. Even though I only have 5 credits. I had the 5 I needed. That's what nourish your kids.
Sorry, luck. Oh, thank you, man. No vex. But so tossing back to you. Now that he has finished his chapter with Manchester United, at least we know that one is closing. Where do you see him going from here?
First thing I need to address is the relationship between two of you. I think I need really.
What relationship is that?
What is this? Both of you grinning ear to ear. Whatever it is, just keep the tension down a little bit when you come on this show. Now let's actually go to the nonsense he spewed. He said 2 things that I think are actually very important. One, that he likes Rashford.
Okay,
that's great. Congratulations to you. He actually has a girlfriend. 2, the second thing he said is that his intelligence quotient made him able to pass certain grades. That's why he was able to go to higher institution. 5 credits. That's all you need, actually. You don't really need much. So those are the only 2 things. Everything he said, aside those 2 jargons, absolute jargons. Manchester United, say whatever you want to say about Manchester United. It's a $1 billion franchise, $1 billion organization. They have people in these offices that make talent evaluation. And they've never looked at Marcus Rashford. Even they buy into the media hype, obviously for certain reasons, maybe jersey sales. He's a local kid also, you understand? But from like a structural football standpoint, they've never showed like the bringing in of Ibrahimovic, even like bringing in Rasmus Højlund, bringing in they don't, from their overall approach, they clearly do not rate this guy as much as people rate him. But
why would you
at the end of the day, he's an English player who is a local kid and came through the academy. That's a combination of 3 very powerful factors. That's 3 very powerful factors. And in my own personal opinion, we already talked. I don't want to go back to all all the glorification of his youth, because like majority of the stuff you said about his talent. We talked about Champions League. We talked about Barcelona won the Champions League 10 years ago, but we are talking about ancient history, about talent when it comes to Rashford. You are talking about, it's got 7 straight. Do you know when that is? That was in the 2013, 2014, 2015 season. That's basically the seasons you are referencing.
Last Champions League.
That's basically the seasons you are referring. What are we talking about? That's 11 years ago. That's what you are talking about in terms of talent. Like, can you say Marcus Rashford was the pillar of the Manchester United team that won the Europa League? Don't let us even look at it. I feel slappy.
But
Wait,
you can't.
I hope you know that I asked you a question.
Yeah.
You have deviated from the question totally.
I feel
I asked you. We see.
everything is coming to the conjunction of the answering of the like, oh God.
Now, because of time, I didn't look. You know, we have limited time on this.
This is
set.
what they teach you SS2, SS3.
The question, where do you see him going from here after his Manchester United spell?
I've given you so much levity, but it's fine. Now let's go into let's go into the totality of the argument.
Oh God! So we never reach Chelsea. We
never reach there. Because I need to point this out. When you look at the totality of what he has achieved, you will now see why he landed at a club at Aston Villa. That is his level.
But currently, we can argue that Aston Villa are higher than Manchester United.
That is his level in terms of Aston Villa is not going to win the league anytime soon. No. We are looking at it from the context of Manchester United now. Manchester United are realizing that if they want to become a team that they were before, they cannot say they are going to rely on Marcus Rashford. They just came to that realization like 7 years later.
Who would they rely on?
They just came to that realization. That's 7 years later. They need proper talent. And if you watch Amorim's interview, I do not agree with some of his practices, but he has said we need players with certain amount of talent, fitness, and athleticism. Yes, like you need to watch these things, but that's a different discussion. I'm not going to go into that. They've decided now that Marcus Rashford can play for a team that is a mid-table to a team aspiring for Champions League football. Can be a rotational player there. Are you sure he's even going to start at Aston Villa? Are you sure? So him and Doyen Malen, they are going to be duking it out. And Asensio, they'll be rubbing shoulders. Is it like, can you say he's going to be put in a position better than Morgan Rogers to shine for Aston Villa? These are the issues. So like he's going to be a team that is in the Champions League. Well, I do not actually see Aston Villa making the Champions League next season. That's just my own personal opinion. So a mid-table team aspiring to go for Champions League, yes, that is if a squad rotation player there. That is if they had that mindset 10 years ago, they won't be telling him that he's a flop now. They will have known that why are we giving this kind of a player 300,000 per week? You will have done proper evaluation. That's why I'm saying that like the question you asked is where can he go now? This is where he can go. He can go from Aston Villa to Brentford in a couple of years. He can like. It's similar to when Manchester United made an assessment of Welbeck. And they said, okay, this Welbeck, he can't take us to where we go. They took him to, Arsenal jumped on him, right? Even Arsenal decided, okay, it's like we've misevaluated him. They sent him to his appropriate place. You see where Welbeck now, he's Brighton or like that kind of thing. If you make a proper evaluation of a player, you will put him in his correct category. This is his category moving forward. And I wish him all the best. And now you see. Now you see Rashford.
Why you
now you see he's not a flop.
Why you don't threaten me with
you think you think he's a flop. Now Rashford knows this club expect an average of 14-15 goals a season in 40 appearances. That's what you expect from Rashford.
Yeah, Tunde. Please, I hope you can answer the question better. Now, where do you see Marcus Rashford going from here?
I need to slap this boy every once in a while.
Yeah, look. Let me explain what's wrong with this. Even though if I try to like break everything that's wrong with him down, we might do a marathon edition of this show, and for like 3-4 days straight of shooting. So we can't do that. But one of Tosin's problems with this Rashford situation is that Rashford rejected Barcelona and chose Aston Villa. I did not make this up. No, maybe thank God say no, maybe they run Fabrizio account. You can quickly bring out your phone and check it. This is actually a true story. Barcelona were interested, AC Milan were interested.
Because is that true?
And Marcus Rashford, he had his chance to speak.
If it was a flop, why would your club interested?
His club employs Frankie de Jong. His club is the home of flops. They pay Frankie de Jong 700k weekly to do his hair like this, like it's so proper. That's all he does for them. His club is full of Rashfords. His club is the home of Rashfords. But anyway, back to my point. I digress. The point is that where can Rashford go from here? I think that yes, I was very clear. Rashford has been a flop for Man United. In 10 years, he has not done what was expected of him. Granted. But Rashford is also a very good player. Not a great player, not an elite player. But you don't need to be an elite player to make it in today's football. That's what today's football is proving. If you want to list who are some of the best players in the world now, this one go call Rafinha. Rafinha, when God just do it for this season. Rafinha 3 seasons ago was literally fighting for his life with Leeds United in relegation. And before this season, Rafinha was considered a flop at Barcelona. But because God finally shined light on him, they say Rafinha is one of the best players in the world. Yeah, Rashford are age mates. So there's nothing you can tell me about. Look, at the end of the day, he has a new lease on life. He's 27 years old. Ideally, those should be the peak years of a footballer. But Rashford, burst onto the simplicity early at 16. So it might be an early bloomer. It might, we don't know yet. But 27 ideally should be a peak years of a footballer. And importantly, is also leaving the chaos of Manchester United. Manchester United have always maintained it is extremely difficult to succeed at Man United. As a player, as a coach, as a fan, as a supporter, as a journalist, as a reporter, as a groundsman, as a kitsman, as a grass seller, as a merchandise seller, as a food seller, there's nothing you want to do at Man United that you can possibly succeed. Because the standards of success are incredibly higher. The scrutiny is incredibly higher. At Aston Villa, what has Watkins done this season? You think Watkins played for United and did what he did last season, and then he's now doing what he's doing this season? You think people will now turn him apart? Does anybody talk about Watkins? No. The minute he starts scoring, they get words. Oh, only Watkins, one of the best players in the world. That's the kind of environment Rashford needs to bring out, is where you can make your mistakes without too much scrutiny, and you can then build confidence. Rashford is clearly a confidence player. If he can build a good run of form, the more confident he is, the more he will play his great football. So I expect in this 6 months at Aston Villa, he will show the world again what he can do. And then you probably get a bigger move. And even if he stays at Aston Villa right now, they finished in the same knockout system with Barcelona. I don't know where this one they talk. See Aston Villa, it's Barcelona here. Even if you want to evaluate, they might have a better attack and a better midfield than Barcelona. But that's a topic for another episode. I'm sure we'll get to it. But for right now, Marcus Rashford, if you can show everybody what he can do in these 6 months, what's next for maybe a permanent deal with Villa? There's definitely United is off the table, in my opinion. Maybe a permanent deal with Villa. Or even me as a Chelsea fan, I would take him. Look, the way I evaluate talent, this new trend of football fans showing blind faith in players and managers, believing in what you can do when you have never done it, I hate it so much. Hoping that Jackson will come good. Where have you seen him be good? He might eventually come good. Hoping that what he will do. But someone like Rashford, I've seen Rashford be good, but I've also seen him be bad. So I'm hoping that we can create an enabling environment where we can sustain his goodness. Because I've seen it happen. You've seen some of these score. How many players can score 30 goals in a season while playing for Manchester United? You've seen him score 30 goals in a season and lead the team to a trophy. So even at Chelsea, I would take him. Chelsea is a step up from Aston Villa, no doubt. Is Man United a step up? No. Right now, he should go and do testimony that God has first of all saved him from a demonic environment. Even their name is devil. Save him from a devilish environment where there's too much pressure and scrutiny. And giving him, first of all, a higher level of football because he's playing in the Champions League now. Playing with much better players. Playing under a much better and much more established manager. This one is not an idea that was formed in Portugal. this is a proper manager that is not using the emotions to judge things, that is not breaking television when things are not going right. This is a manager that knows what he's doing, that has won at the highest level. So in my opinion, I definitely think that Marcus Rashford is going to get his career back on track. At 27, he turns 28 in October, I think. Do well with Aston Villa, maybe get a permanent deal, and do pretty much what John Duran did before he was able to move to another side.
All right, thank you for that. So we've heard from the both of them. Tosin thinks that Marcus Rashford cannot be considered a flop because he simply didn't have the potential to go that far. While Tunde is of the opinion that yes, he is a flop, but he is a flop who can still do good things. What about you guys? What do you think? Is he a flop or not? And where do you see his career going from here? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. I am Anishilowo, Jimmy Anishilowo, and this is Crossfire, brought to you by Live Score Bets.